Welcome back again to my channel. Today in this video I'm going to show you what is a pivot table and also slicer in Microsoft Excel, right? um but first of all, before we dive deep into this, I want to let you know what is a pivot table and what is it used for, right? Now, when we talk about a pivot table, let's go to the definition of pivot table. A pivot table is a tool within the spreadsheet program that allows you to quickly summarize and analyze set of data by organizing them into rows and columns, enable you for easier pattern and trend by grouping them and calculating based on different categories like sum, average, without manually creating a complex functions, right? A pivot table with a pivot table in Excel can help you to summarize a huge bunch of data in a what simple and easier form without creating complex functions. Most especially for those of you who are not used to what creating nasty functions, right, in Excel. So with a pivot table, you can able to analyze and summarize data and have what a good report very easily. And some of the importance of the pivot table here, it helps for data summarization, flexibility, filtering, and group of data and visual insight, right? Without wasting much time in this explanation, let's go to the practical aspect. Then you can see what we are talking about here. Now, this is a bunch of data we have here. This data is being derived from the West sheet here, the East sheet, South and North. Of course, I blend all these four tables in this different sheet into one single consolidated table, which refers to append table. If you don't know how to append series of tables in a sheet into one single consolidated table, you can watch my recent video that I did on how to append table in Microsoft Excel. If you are struggling to find it, just go in the description of this video. You will see the link there and watch how to append table in Excel, right? Now, this is a set of table. Now, I want to know the total number of items that are sold by each of the sales rep here. Okay, I want to know what are the total of items John sells in each of the region, the whole total four region. I want to know the total of items sold by John. So what do we do with a pivot table? Pivot table can help you to have this analysis in very simple form without creating complex functions, right? By so doing, first of all, click into the data that you want, go to the insert tab and click on pivot table here. And when you click on the pivot table, you'll be faced with this dialog. It will ask you choose the data that you want to analyze. Now, for this set of data, I've already selected a table or range, and which is append 1, as you can see, because this is an append table that I just did. If you can use external data source, then it's up to you where your data source, and you can create your connection. And the next thing it asks you, where do you want to place the pivot table report? For this tutorial, we're going to go with a new sheet. You can choose an existing sheet, maybe this sheet, if that's the place I want to import the pivot table, not that I want a new sheet. So I'm going to click on new sheet and hit on OK. And when you click on OK, a new sheet will be created where your pivot table will be reported. Now, these are the fields we have in our data: the region, the date, the item, the sales rep, and so forth and so on. Now, like I told you earlier on, guys, I want to know the total number of sales of item that is being done by each of the sales rep. Now, what I will do, I will take the sales rep here and drop it into row. And when I drop into row, you can see these are the sales rep we have. We have Bob, John, Laura, Mark, and Stacy. These are the sales rep that we have. The next thing I want to do, I will take item also and drop it into row here. When you drop item into row, you can see all the items that are being sold by Bob, items that are being sold by John, items that are sold by Laura. Now I want to know the total number of items sold by Bob in terms of diary, office chair, and printer. So what I will do, I will take the price here and drop into value. And when dropping the value, you can see Bob sold the total number of items in 2,462. He sold a diary of 752, office chair of 8,740. As you can see, you see, you can able to analyze your data in very simple. So with this kind of pivot table report, I can able to now know how much of the item that are being sold by Bob. All right, very easy and cool. Okay, now I want again to create another pivot table for region and to know how many total number of items that are sold by Bob in a particular region. So what I will do, I'm going to create another pivot table here. So I will click this side here and go to what? Insert and go to the data. Let's go to the data source again. Now you click on the data source, go to insert again, click on pivot table, and this time around we want an existing sheet. We don't want a new sheet. We got an existing sheet. So I'm going to click on existing sheet, and I will come back to this sheet and click on this side here. This is the area where I want the pivot table to be. So in an existing sheet, as you can see, it's already what being in place. So I will just click on OK, and you see when you click OK, in the same sheet we are, which is sheet 3, we are going to create another pivot table. Now what I will do, I will take region and drop it into row. Now you can see the region and row is there, and again I will take the price and drop it into what? Value. You see, and drop it into what? Value. All right, now you can see with this set of things, you can able to know your data in a very simple format. Total number of items that are sold in a particular region, as you can see. Right now, the next thing I want to do, I want to create a slicer. First of all, let's try to understand what is a slicer. We have already know how pivot table works. It's all about taking your data, drop it into the area you want, and you are good without any disturbance. Okay, that is it. Now let's talk about slicer. Now when you talk about a slicer is a visual filter that allows you to easily filter data within a pivot table by clicking on button that show a specific category, making it an interactive way to drill down into a data. Right now, let's insert a slicer here. Let's see what we have. As we all know, we have two pivot tables here. We have pivot table 1 and this another one, pivot table. All right, now what I will do, I will click on one of these pivot table. I'll come to what? The sales rep, and what? Right click on the sales rep and say what? Add as a slicer. Now I will click on this one here, add as a slicer. Now if I click on Bob, you can see the total number of sales that are being done by what? Bob in the East region, North region, South region, and West region. Right, if I click on John again, you will see John also some of sales that are done in the region. But there's one thing you should understand here. You can see when I click on one of the sales rep here, nothing is being applying to this particular pivot table, because this slicer is only connected to this pivot table, which is what? The regional pivot table here. It's not connected to this one here. Right, that is the reason why you are seeing nothing is happening. Even if I click on John, only this pivot table is being what? Changing. This one is not affecting. So what we do, if you want this pivot table to effect on this pivot table again, also effect on this pivot table, we are going to create what? A connection in this what? Slicer. Now what we do here, you click on the slicer here, right click on the slicer and come to what? Report connection. If you want to do this, what you will do, just click on the slicer, come to what? Option, and click on what? Under slicer setting here, you click on what? Report connection. As you can see, now you click on what? Report connection. Now this slicer is connected to what? Pivot table 3. So we are going to connect it to pivot table 2, which is this pivot table here, where we have the sales rep Bob, John, Lara, and what? Mark. So we click on what? Pivot table 2 and hit what? Okay. Now you can see when Bob is selected, you can see this total number of sales that is being done by Bob here in the different region, and also this particular side is only showing what? John. And you can see the grand total here, and the grand total for this side is what? Balance. Now if I click on John also, you can see John, you see the data is being filtered both in the what? The pivot table. Now if I click on what? If I clear the filter, you see all the data set will come, because I've already created a connection in this slicer here. Okay, now I want to insert again another slicer, which is the date. I want the date. Yeah, I want the, let's add as a slicer. No, this date is not giving me. I don't want this date. Okay, I don't want the date. What other things again I want? Let me say item. Let's add item as a slicer also. Okay, now we have add item as a slicer also. Now if I want to know the total number of diary that is being sold by different region, if I click on diary, you can see in the different region, the east, the north, the south, the total number of diary that is being sold in these 4 regions. See, if I click on office again, you can see the data is changing. But there's another problem here. When I click on the diary here, you can see only this pivot table is be what effective. That's it changing. This pivot table is not changing. So what I will do again, I have to create what a slicer connection. Now what I will do, either I click on this one and come to what option here and click on what report connection. I will just right click and come to what report connection. Now when I click on report connection, you can see this slicer here is also what connected to pivot table 3. So I have to connect it to what pivot table 2 also, and click OK. Now you can see if I click on office chair, you can see the total number of sales of office chair in this different region, and also the total number of office chair that is being sold by what different sales rep. You can see Bob sold office chair of what 8,740. John sold what 10,120. You can see what the total number of office chair that is being sold by different sales rep and what in the different region here. Now if I clear the filter, you can see I will click on diary again and click on what Bob here. So it only tell me the total number of diary that is being sold by Bob and also what in the different region. You can see if I click on John, you can see. If I click on Laura, you can see the data is changing, right? I can clear the filter again in this slicer. So with slicer and pivot table, you can able to summarize the data in the simplest form. Now if you click on what this append, you can see to arrive at this within this data set, it's very awkward and boring. You cannot able to deduce, but with the help of the pivot table and the slicer, you can able to summarize the data and have what a particular category you are looking for easy just by clicking without creating any complex function. Now I can click on this slicer and come to our slicer option. You can click on slicer setting and you can change a lot of settings. If you don't want this name as sales rep, you can change the name from this angle here and also so on and so forth. And if you don't want the coloring of this slicer, you can change the color also by coming to this side. You can choose if you want a dark theme. You see, when you choose a dark theme, you can see what will happen. You choose this, you can choose this. You see, you can choose also from this point, you can choose from this point, you can choose from this side. If you want this, you can see the moment you click on what the slicer, you can see what that they will change, right? Now also if I want the size of this slicer to increase a bit, I will just come to the height and increase the height. You see, the moment I increase the height, you can see the slicer will increase. You see that? If I want to increase the width, you can see I'm decreasing the width. I will increase the width also here from this point. Now again, if I don't want this slicer to be on this send, I want to place the slicer on top of each other. I will click on this one and place it on top of this. Either I will send it backward. You see, so I will control which slicer will be in front of me and which one will be at the back. So if I don't want this, I will still bring it forward and you can see they will come forward. And when you click on slicer here, you can see all of the settings that you needed in the slicer we pop off. So guys, I hope this is very helpful, and I guess I believe majority of you that you are asking for me to do a video on pivot table and slicer, this can help. If there's any other tutorial you want me to do, you can please let me know. I'm always here to help you and guide you.